Hey guys, I'm going to try to show you what I'm looking for this next assignment. This is my first time using the Loom app, so hopefully it works. Um, so basically what I'm getting you guys to do is to pick out the key causes of World War II and the effects that they had. Not yesterday, last week, you guys were talking, or we were reading about totalitarianism, um, which is like a state where the government has total control over all aspects of politics and society. They're often quite violent, and they'll use intimidation to get people to sort of fall in line. So briefly, I'm just going to go over the ones that you guys were reading about last week. So Stalin had the Soviet Union, which ended up being a huge part of Europe and Asia for a long time. And this was a communist dictatorship. So the idea is that everybody shares everything. You maybe have a job, but you're contributing to the whole sort of country, and everybody's supposed to get paid the same amount and have the same amount of food and that sort of thing. Stalin was really jazzed about that idea, but didn't really care in the end, especially what happened to specific people. So a lot of people died, and he didn't tolerate any dissension. He didn't want anybody to disagree with him. Common theme throughout dictatorships. We have Mussolini's Italy. This is our first fascist party that we talked about. So fascism on the surface can look somewhat similar to what Stalin had for his dictatorship. It's kind of one guy in charge of everything, but it's not so much about the sharing. It's more supposed to be like individualistic a little bit, and very, very heavily based in nationalism and thinking that your race is the best race. Germany, big one, obviously, in World War II. They believed in the master race, so they certainly fell behind that, thinking that their nation, but specifically their race, was the best one, and trying to create a whole empire, just for them. Fascism in Spain, totalitarianism in Japan. Okay, so we've gone over those a little bit, just briefly. Now I'm going to talk about the other causes of the Second World War. So we have in the world these groups of people who are becoming more and more radical. They're trying to do, they're escalating into more violent things to get what they want, which in this case, a lot of it is about taking over land and having the most power. So we've got all these different dictatorships rising in kind of the 20s and 30s. And here's some other things that were going on. So Hitler, he had imperialistic ambitions. So he was wanting to create, like I said, this empire for his master race. You can see here, it's hard to see my cursor, but anyways, these were the different places that he started the occupation of. So he moved in on the Rhineland, which was an area that was it was a part of Germany, but they weren't allowed to have any military there after World War I. He annexed Austria, and Austria was like, okay, sounds good, I guess. Took the Sudetenland around Czechoslovakia, and then occupied Czechoslovakia. Polish corridor right here. So this was also a part of Germany, and they were moving this way so that they could kind of join all of Germany together. And then they took Poland. And like you saw in that video, hopefully, the other countries just kept saying yes to Hitler because they didn't want another world war. So they said, oh, okay, like you can have this, you can have that, as long as you stop here. But that line where they were hoping that Germany would stop just kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed until a bunch of countries had been invaded. The Nazis and the Soviets had a non-aggression pact, so at the beginning of just before the outset of war, they had basically agreed, or in the beginning part of the war, rather, they had agreed that they wouldn't fight each other. The League of Nations, which we kind of talked about briefly, some of you did some more research on it than others, which was like the baby UN. Didn't do a very good job what it was trying to do. They didn't stop any of the nationalistic aggression. They didn't maintain world peace because they didn't really have power to do that. Japan invaded Manchuria. Italy invaded Abyssinia. So just like with Germany invading and trying to take more land, these other countries were doing it as well. And then the other thing that I guess isn't in here, but is good to know, I guess it's more in this sort of section with Germany. So Germany really felt like the Treaty of Versailles was totally not uncalled for, but way, way too harsh. So they were told that they had to pay a bunch of money to France and other places, and they didn't have any money. They were told they couldn't have a certain amount of, like, a military force. All of these things, really, they were brushing up against. And there's something to be said for that, that it was not... You can see why the regular German people would be upset about it. And so Hitler took that feeling and sort of just blew it up. Okay, so we've gone over that. Now, with your actual assignment, what I want you guys to do is pick a cause. So it could be Treaty of Versailles too harsh, punitive. Let's stick with harsh. And then the effect that that had was German people felt, and I don't know, however they felt about it. And this is what you would say, you know, Treaty of Versailles too harsh. German people felt upset about it. They felt like the world was all against them, and they felt like they had to do something to kind of gain their country back. And then you put all that there for your advantage. And so these other causes of World War II, they could be the different dictators, they could be like the state of the world after the Depression. A lot of you guys kind of picked up on that in your last week's assignment, and some of the answers to the rise of totalitarian dictatorships. There were some really good answers there. And those could all be causes. And if you can't find 6, 5's fine. And then there's a couple of questions afterwards. I hope that this helped some of you and wasn't too rambly, but hey, at least it feels like the classroom.